What's going on, YouTube? Back with another video. Wanted to update you on a couple more TNA wrestlers that have quit the company. It seems like TNA the last few months, wow, a lot of people have left the company. And here we'll add two more to this list right now as of yesterday, Mance Warner and Steph DeLander, who are married in real life. And if you hadn't weren't aware, and maybe you're interested in this trivia tidbit, Steph DeLander, she was formerly known as Persia Pirotta in WWE NXT a few years back. And anyway, both of these people, they had quit TNA wrestling yesterday, and the circumstances were, now you may have known the Steph DeLander since 2024. She's been out of action. Unfortunately, she's been trying to recover from surgery that she had. She had a surgery for a bulging disc in her neck. She's, been having spinal issues. And now on the positive side, a WWE spinal surgeon officially cleared her to return to in-ring action, which is great. But unfortunately, TNA Wrestling, they still refuse to clear her. Now, like WWE, they've got like some of the strictest, protocol for allowing wrestlers to come back into action and all that. I don't think WWE would have cleared her if they, if there was any concern on their part that she was, that she wouldn't make it or that she'd be in really serious danger. But TNA, they refused to clear her, and they told her that she would never be able to wrestle for TNA ever again. So once they got that news, the married couple of Mance Warner and Steph DeLander, they decided to cut ties with TNA Wrestling. You might see them on a few more episodes of like TNA Impact and TNA Explosion on those shows, maybe like as they're wrapping it up with the current set of tapings that TNA is doing. But that's the way it's going with that. As Steph DeLander, she hasn't wrestled for TNA since our last matches were she had a tag team match in August of 2024, and her last singles match with the company was back in May of 2024. But since then, she's been recovering from surgery. I mean, you've still seen her, accompanying Mance Warner to the ring for his matches, but, she hasn't been wrestling herself. But now that the WWE spinal surgeon has officially cleared her to compete, now she is accepting bookings in the wrestling world for the first time in nearly 2 years. So that's the way it's going with that. And I personally think it's going to be a loss to TNA seeing Mance Warner go by the wayside. I mean, he was good at those hardcore matches. It seemed like he was one of those people. He was willing to do some of those hardcore moves that other wrestlers really weren't comfortable with doing. They refused to do it, and that was kind of Mance Warner's specialty, was those hardcore matches and all that. But unfortunately, TNA, they really toned that down. They didn't want to see, they really didn't want to see too much blood on their shows unless it was unintentional. They really didn't want to see that type of thing on their show, so they really cut down on that. So I think that was one of the things that made TNA maybe they didn't really push him maybe they would have if circumstances would have been different. And so that's the way it's going with that. And we can add those two wrestlers to a long list of people that TNA has lost recently. As of late, last few months, we've seen Zachary Wentz, Desmond Xavier, formerly known as Wes Lee in WWE, and Myron Reed. All of those have left TNA Wrestling. All have gone to AEW. We've seen The Inspiration, the team of The Inspiration, Cassie Lee and Jesse McKay. They were formerly known as the Iconics in WWE. Formerly known as Billy Kay and Peyton Royce. Those two have left to go to AEW. Now, the TNA wrestler Killer Kelly, we've seen she declined to renew for an extension on her contract when her contract expires. Now, interestingly enough, she's posted online saying, "You're going to see me on television soon." And the thing is, I could very well see her ended up in AEW, as maybe a lot of people don't know, but Killer Kelly, she is actually Myron Reed's husband, or is Myron Reed's wife in real life. So, and Myron Reed, he's recently gone to AEW, and so we could very well see her over in AEW very soon. There, I mean, it's a lost scene. Like so many of these people, Jake something, the wrestler known as Jake something, him leaving TNA wrestling when his contract came up, and him going to AEW, that was a loss to the company. And we've also seen other people, of course, like Matt Cardona. Matt Cardona's becoming an official member of the SmackDown roster, and Joe Hendry leaving TNA in November 15th, him leaving TNA Wrestling and officially becoming a member of the WWE roster around November the 15th. And then Masha Slamovic, because of personal issues in her life that she was getting in legal trouble for, TNA Wrestling decided not to renew the contract with her. So yeah, an awful lot of people leaving TNA Wrestling, going to AEW, going to WWE, and I think Matt Warner's going to be somebody that's going to be missed. I think in TNA Wrestling, it's going to make the company worse. Like I think Zachary Wentz, Desmond Xavier, Myron Reed, big losses of the company. Now people like a tag team like The Inspiration with Cassie Lee and Jesse McKay. I mean, honestly, I really didn't think they were a very good fit in TNA, and I don't really think they're going to be a good fit in AEW either. I mean, I liked them in WWE, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I mean, honestly, I really don't think they're going to be an asset to AEW. I mean, the matches that they did in TNA, if you've been watching the show on a weekly basis like I have, it's like, their matches in TNA they really haven't been very good. They're not very, it's just, so I really don't see the team of The Inspiration making AEW into their shows into better shows. I mean, maybe AEW, maybe if they have them being, wrestlers that always lose, maybe to try to make AEW's existing stars to kind of like, build them up or something. But I try to push The Inspiration as a top tag team on AEW. I don't think that's really going to be a good idea, because TNA was trying to do that. Like TNA had them being the tag team champions, and really, that was a mess. I think, and I really don't. I think it made the show worse. Really, I think they could have done. TNA would have been they would have had better shows, not having The Inspiration, or just give them a different gimmick or something. I mean, I don't know. Something had to be done with them. So we'll see what AEW does with The Inspiration. But some other things I wanted to talk about tonight was they've officially announced the new dates, or the new date when WWE Legends and Future Greats Season 3 will be back on the air. And that's going to be coming back to the cable channel A&E on Sunday, April 26th. So it's coming back on a little after WrestleMania for this year. But it looks like we'll have some different coaches, different mentors on this show. And they're still going to have Bubba Ray Dudley and Booker T on there. But now they're also going to have Kevin Owens and Natalya Neidhart on there as coaches as well. And they say the show is going to have somewhat of a different format on there as compared to what they had in seasons 1 and 2. But as far as all I've seen from that is they say like maybe they're going to try to have more WWE stars on the show than what they had in the past. But I haven't read anything about like them having the former coaches, The Undertaker, Michelle McCool, Mickey James. Haven't heard anything about those coming back. So it sounds like they're going to have the 4 coaches they're going to have on season 3 are going to be Kevin Owens, Natalya Neidhart, Bubba Ray Dudley, and Booker T. So it sounds like they've been producing season 3 of WWE Legends of Future Greats since about January 15th or so. And we've seen in the past, like in season 1, we had Tyra May Steele and Jasper Troy, they were the winners of Season 1, and Season 2 we had Shiloh Hill and Danny Sikelski, now known as Skylar Ray, as the winners of Season 2. Now, also on April 26th on A&E, that's when they're also going to be bringing back the show's Biography, WWE Legends, as well as WWE's Greatest Moments, hosted by WWE announcer Michael Cole. He'll be doing that. Another documentary talking about the greatest moments in WWE. So that's all coming back at you on April 26th, and a little after WrestleMania. So that's tonight's update. So I wanted to leave you with that, and I will talk to you again after a little while there. I should be doing these updates on a more regular basis because it's like keeping on top of this stuff. It's like a part-time job. You know what I'm saying?